This video, we're going to be looking at why certain content goes viral. So I've done a little bit of research and I've looked into finding out why some videos do better than others. Why does some content go viral, whereas some other content just sit there and nothing happens? So a lot of people think virality is like pure luck, and like one day the algorithm just wakes up and just decide to bless someone, and then your videos get millions of views. But that's not how it works. There's a clear, predictable reason as to why certain videos do better, why certain tweets and certain posts take off. And that's what I've been able to study, and I've been able to break down as to why they do well. So the most viral content taps into three key things. So number one, it triggers strong emotions. Number two is it makes people look good when they share it. And number three is it's unexpected or super relatable. So those are the three things, and then we're going to break each of these things down. So the first thing is viral content trigger strong emotions. So think about the last thing you saw, like you shared with someone. Why did you send it? Chances are it made you feel something powerful. Maybe it made you laugh, shocked or inspired, or even made you a little bit of angry, a little angry. Emotions drive engagement, and the stronger the emotional reaction, the more likely people are going to share the video. So let's look at some examples. So if you guys remember, on TikTok, there was the corn kid went viral for a little while, and this little kid was just passionately talking about how much he loves corn. And this excitement was just pure, it was so contagious, and this blew up. Why? Because it made people feel good. It was just a happy, wholesome moment. And in a world where we're bombarded with bad news, people love sharing things that spread joy. Brands jumped on it real quick. It became a meme. Even Chipotle used the sound in their ads. So the takeaway here is content that sparks pure positive emotions tend to travel very far. So let's look at another second example. If you think of those videos, those sad dog rescue videos, like if you flip it, so going from just really positive emotions to something else now. So you've probably seen those emotional dog rescue videos, where the dog is in terrible shape, and somebody goes there in and rescue the dogs, and by the end, they're happy, they're wagging tails, the dog is more healthier, living a better life, living the best life actually. And this kind of videos like really tap into a different emotional response. Like it's sadness followed by hope. It makes you want to root for the dog. And when you feel something deeply, they hit share. Once you feel that, you want to hit share button. So these videos don't just get views, like they inspire donation, activism, and real life action. So that's another great example. Just see the other side of things. Another one is outrage or controversy. Something that drives anger and passion. So let's just be honest, like controversy sells. Have you ever noticed when some of the most shared tweets or videos are people arguing about something ridiculous? It could be whatever. It could be just even being, should pineapple be on pizza? It could be something like that. And that just leads to a huge thread of arguments. People just love taking sides. A good debate fires people up. And when people feel strongly about something, oof, they share it and they get their friends involved. They start to have their own personal debates in their group chat. This starts a conversation. It sparks a conversation. That's one way people can, really, really gain that virality, is to get people talking about it, start striking a conversation. Now, I'm not saying you should go around picking fights online. That's not what I'm recommending you do here. But if you can spark a friendly debate about a particular niche that you're working on, it can really go to your favor. Different things. Yeah. Another one, if I was to think of in our content industry that has really created a lot of conversation, is hourly based pricing. Some people hate hourly based pricing for content creators or creatives in general, saying that you cannot charge by the hour when you are a creative. It's counterintuitive, doesn't make any sense, and it's not the best. And where some other people are like, well, it's what people know, it's how the world works, so that's what we do. So something like that. That's a huge debate about a particular niche, which is the creativity industry. So that's talking about something like that and having a very strong opinion about one side versus the other can really lead to a great video. So now, so think about certain things when you decide to make a video. Like, do you want to make them smile? Do you want to see? Do you want them to be inspiring? Or do you want to have them shocked? So you have to think of all these things when you're choosing to make content. So number two, next thing is viral content really makes people look good when they share it. So you have to think about that. So if you're making content and you want people to share this thing, it has to make them look good, right? So, take for example, people love sharing content that like makes them look smart, even like or funny. So that's why memes is a thing. So, a lot of what we share online isn't just for fun. It's about identity. We want to share things that reflect who we are or how we want people to see us. For example, when someone shares a life hack video, they're not just sharing it for fun. They want you thinking, wow, my friend really thinks that I know this stuff, or I'm sharing this stuff because, wow, I didn't know you could do this. And this is one way of doing things. So, you're just trying to portray to other people that you know certain things or you're aware of certain things before the other person. So you just want to look smart and useful, like those hack videos, like I saw one of the takeaways, like, do you know you can use fork to remove a strawberry stem? Like, I didn't know that. It's a tiny piece of information, but it's so simple and clever that people share because it makes them look like they discovered something genius. So when I share it to my friends, like, wow, look at what I found, and I'm pretty sure you didn't know about it. So I'm going to rush to share it first so that I'm like, I'm ahead of the curve. I know new things, quicker than this particular way of doing things. So, and you want to share that, or trending news, looking informed and ahead of the curve. So, if something crazy happens, like if something like Apple drops a new product or a celebrity does something unexpected, people rush to share it. Why? Because it makes them look like they are in the know, like, they're keeping up, so like news of whatever, sports, technology, politics, if you're there first, people be like, wow, this is my go-to person for this kind of information because they always have the most trending information and trending news. Another type of content could really work is educational content, just looking knowledgeable, if you teach someone something valuable, like how to save money, like how to start a business or how to be better at the skill, they are likely to share because it makes them look more knowledgeable. And this is why creators like Ali Abdal, like, who teaches productivity, or Graham Stephan, who teaches finance, have such massive audience. Their content isn't just useful, it makes people look smart for sharing it. Because, wow, look at the insightful things that this person is providing me, that's helping me with. So, those are certain things that you should think about if you are choosing to make content and in what areas you should make content in. Next is like viral content. So what I've noticed is that viral content are like is sometimes unexpected and super relatable. Like, you know what I mean? So some things are not something you can script. Some things you go viral for, you can't script it. It's just moments that just so happen to be so relatable that everybody wants to see it. That's the same thing we're talking about, like memes. Funny fails. Like if somebody falls down, it's such a funny video. It's unexpected. You can't just, well, caveat, some of these things you can't necessarily plan for them, but then they're so relatable. Seeing somebody embarrass themselves falling down, it's funny, and people will love to share those things. Those kind of moments. Like memes. Exactly, memes are one of those things that are universal. Like they take a universal feeling. Like, like for example, if you hated Monday morning, or struggling with your Wi-Fi, like those things, and you turn into a joke, like those things everybody can relate. Like, it's something that people can share instantly because, wow, I understand that. I know that feeling, or fail videos. Like I said, if somebody falls down into a pool or wherever, you you see you don't see it coming, and then it surprises you, like boom, yeah, this person falls down, and then those things are like really just go viral, and then you have so many million views. So those are the unexpected moments of variety. So there is certain parts that is structured in which they are replicatable models. There are also some parts of it that is just unpredictable, and it's just at the end of the base point is just being relatability. So that's another aspect of it. So, like I said, just viral content, like it has to trigger emotion. So if you're thinking of creating the content that's going to go viral, it just has to trigger some kind of strong emotion. It must make people laugh, cry, or feel something intense. Like, it should make, or the next thing is it should make sure that it makes people look good when they share it. Like, things like life hack, smart tips, breaking news, something educational, or the third thing is just something that's unexpected or just super relatable. So people feel like they have to share because I understand that feeling. So now we just kind of like have an idea as to why things go for viral. Then now let's look at how to actually structure a viral content step by step. Let's talk about how to actually structure your content to maximize its chance of blowing up. Now, because here's the thing, virality isn't just luck. Let's just clear that. It's not just luck. Sometimes some things are like there's a specific formula as to how it works time and time again, and you can apply them to your content, and which will get more reach, more engagement, and more shares. So that's what I've been able to do. I've just taken a bunch of different content creators and just study a lot of them and see what the key elements are, what the commonalities of all these content creators like keep going viral over time and over time. So what I've broken down to is I've seen it is number one, they always have a great hook. They grab the attention instantly. The second thing they get is like the actual meat of the content, delivers value or is entertaining, and then the last thing is the payoff. Like people just keep watching and encouraging, like people just share those kind of videos. So let's break these down. Let's look at first thing is what the hook. How do you stop scrolling? Like how do you get someone who's going through Instagram or going to YouTube just stop and want to watch your video? Because the first few seconds of content is everything. If you don't grab the attention immediately, people just scroll past it. It doesn't matter how great the rest of the video is. If no one watches past the first 3 seconds, it's a flop. That's why you need like a killer hook. It's when I watch all these videos, like they always have some intense curiosity at the beginning. Like, something like you wouldn't believe what happened when I tried this. Something like that. That's what they would say at the opening of a video. Like it promises like a benefit, or something like here's how to double your video views in 30 days. Like that is something that stops you scroll, like, with those kind of bold statements, and like you cannot understand what the payoff is going to be at the end, or why you're going to watch this video, or if it's a controversy, starting with like a very strong statement, like pineapple on pizza is like the worst thing ever. So here's why. Like, those kind of hooks are what people do to get people's attention, to make them stop and watch their videos. So like, for example, like when I was watching this, like when I looked at Mr. Beast's videos, like his hook, typically his videos would be like, okay, all right, I gave my 1,000 customer a brand new car, I'm picking a random person to give them a brand new house. Like things like that are just something is insane. And that's how he always starts his videos, those kind of things, like those, and within those few 2 seconds, you know exactly what the video is going to be about. Your curiosity is hooked. So even if you're not doing over the top challenges like Mr. Beast, like you can still apply this. Like you can start with something unexpected, something that that immediately makes people think, wait, I need to see what happened next. Those kind of things. That's how I studied Mr. Beast videos, and those are the things that I saw and I was able to pick up from his videos. Next is like, when it comes to like short form and like hooks for short form content, like TikTok, Instagram Reels, they're even more difficult, more brutal. Like, people swipe in like split seconds. Like, it's like, that's why like TikToks is like on Instagram Reels start with something shocking. They're always shocking, something funny, super relatable. Like tell me why my boss just said this at work. I tried this viral money saving hacks and this will happen. Things like those kind of things are what people would start their videos off with, their hook with. Now within that just 2 seconds, now you're like, okay, good. I got what this video is about. Let me watch it. Like, you know what I mean? So those are the things you have to think about. And now you have to think about what's the actual content. Like, all right, once you've gotten them through the hook, what is the middle part going to be? So you've got them hooked. And what are you going to do? Like, this is where most people, like, they lose the audience if they start rambling to points that was not promised with the hook. So meaning that you need to start giving people the meat right away. You don't have to waste time talking about, coffees or something else when the hook was about how you're going to teach them how to, make more money. Like, things like that. Like every viral video, it either does something, either teaches something valuable, tells a compelling story, or just delivers pure entertainment. Like those are the things that a viral video is going to deliver. After watching a bunch of different ones, like that's what I've concluded and found. So, like, if you were deciding to do like educational viral videos, like if you want to do something educational, it's like, let's say you want to say you're in finance and your hook was, here's how you save $10,000 in a year, even if you are broke. If someone clicks on that video, they're expecting to get real actionable advice. If you spend 30 seconds talking about your morning coffee before going to the point, they're gone. Just forget it. You lost them. You know, Instead, you just need to jump straight at it. You might say, all right, first step, track your spending. Most people don't realize how much they waste on small daily purchases. That's what you probably want to start have them in the meat of the video. Otherwise, if you put unnecessary things, people just delve in and you lose interest in those videos. And if you decide to go through, maybe you're more of you're not an educational content creator, you're more of a story-based, relatable experience type of content. What you want to do is, like, because storytelling is really powerful. It's one way to keep people engaged for sure. Like, one of the biggest contents on podcasting is definitely those crime stories and those kind of like those kind of still content really do well because they're storytelling. They're powerful ways to keep people engaged. Like, so now in this conclusion, you can imagine if you started a video with, like, last year I quit my job with no backup plan, and let me tell you, it was the scariest thing I've ever done. But here's what happens next. That in of itself, making that statement, immediately people want to know the outcome. They want to hear the full story. What happened? Did you make it? Like, things like that. That's why personal experience videos tend to go really viral, because they feel very real. People love to watch others go through situations they can relate to or learn from. So the next thing is, if you're going the route of just pure entertainment, like funny, unexpected, or dramatic content, like this kind of content, like comedy, unexpected, it has a little bit of unexpected twist to it. And drama are huge for variety. So think about how many times you've shared like a funny clip just because it made you laugh. Take stand-up comedians, for example, on TikTok. Like, they just blow up because the content is super shareable. It's funny, it's quick. They have the hook, they have the jokes, they have everything. You could just share it. It's hilarious. It's just pure entertainment. That's basically, if you're going toward the entertainment route, those are the kind of things you want to study, you want to look into and see if you can structure your content in that same way. The last thing people definitely want to get off is they want to get the payoff. That's what's going to keep people watching and going to encourage them share it, because like the payoff, it's not just about the views. You have to think about people actually want to stick around and share content. Like, the payoff could be definitely just be like giving a satisfying conclusion. Like, if you were teaching people something, it's like, okay, now at the end of the video, you have learned how to make your videos go viral now. You have learned, for example, another example is you have learned how to make your first $10,000 online. Or you're gonna end it with a twist, like, like something like, oh, you didn't expect this, but this is the route, but there's a payoff at the end of the video. And those are the things you want to think about. What I also noticed is that when they also end it after the payoff, they can also leave them with like some cliffhangers sometimes. The payoff could just be another cliffhanger linking to another part. So instead of just ending the video, they could find a way to make a part one or a series where, like, okay, wait till the next episode to find out what happens. Things like that, kind of like employing the same model TV shows do. You apply them to your own content strategy to keep them watching not just one, but the second, the third, and the fourth video. So that's one way of doing things. So yeah, so those are the things I was able to decipher after studying a bunch of different videos as to why certain things go viral, or why some content creators go viral. Now, like, after analyzing that, I realized that there's also another part to this. Like, it's after everything is done, once you've created it, you've posted it, you have to also analyze, the content. That's also a very big part of it. So, kind of we've covered how content goes viral, how to structure it for maximum impact. We have to talk about also is like after you hit publish, what happens? Just because you posted it's you think that's where it ends. No, it's actually just the beginning. Like, if you want to constantly grow your audience and increase your chance of going viral again and again and again, you need to actually analyze your content, like tweak what's working and scale up their strategy. That's what you have to do. Like, it shouldn't be just shouldn't see it as a one-time thing. Like, all right, perfect. I went viral this one video, that's it, done. No, you can actually reverse engineer like and repeat the same thing over and over and over again. So we're gonna break like 3 key steps. Like we're gonna break how to analyze the performance of what you did, how to understand what works and what doesn't, tweaking and experimenting, improving your content over time. And 3 is scaling and tuning like one viral hit into like a long-term growth. So let's look at the first one, like just analyze the performance. Like, what does the number tell you? So like look at your video, no matter how, like don't think of like, oh, it has to be 1 million. No, if you've always regularly got 50 views and for some reason you did a video and got 1,000 views, analyze those 1,000 views. Let's analyze that. Why did you get 1,000 views? Most people just made it and never look at the analytics. Like that's the truth of things. That's the truth of the matter, especially at the beginning. You're trying to figure things out. You never look at the numbers, but you should look at the numbers. It's kind of like if you think about it, it's like you're trying to lose weight, but you never look at the scale. So like you never really know how you're doing or what you're doing, if what you're doing is actually working. So every major platform, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, they give you data on how your content is performing. This data is like your cheat code for figuring out what's resonating with your audience. So there are 3 key metrics you have to pay attention to. So what I noticed that some of the top content creators, what they pay attention to is their watch time and retention rate. Like are people actually watching the whole thing? Are they looking at their engagements, like the likes, the comments, the shares, the save? Are people actually reacting to what they've created? They also look at their click-through rate. So CTR impressions, you've probably heard of it. Are people even clicking on it? If this sounds confusing, let's break it down a little bit. So like the watch time and retention rates are like, what that is like, are people actually staying till the end of the video? This is one of the biggest factors like content going viral, especially with those long on YouTube. It's called audience retention. On TikTok and Instagram, like it's how much people actually watch the video. So if your retention rate is low, like it means people are losing interest and scrolling away. If people leave early, the algorithm stops pushing your content to new viewers. So you have to check your analytics and see if there's a big drop at any certain point, and that's a sign that something lost the attention, and that's why you want to go back to the video. And sometimes you can go back and re-edit that same video and post it back, right? And figure out why was the drop off there. And then next time when you're editing or shooting another video, you think about that over and over again. Like, and if you hear how like questions like, okay, all right, I didn't get that much engagement, what does that actually mean? What it means is that are people actually reacting to it? So like, are people taking the time to actually put a comment, sharing it and saving it? Because what I noticed is like the most viral content always has sometimes have a lot of engagement, and it has to, because technically that's what makes it viral, makes it go viral. It's are people sharing and saving the content. Like it's a great sign. It means your video actually connects with them. If people aren't engaging your content, you might not be hitting the right emotional trigger. What you could do is you could look at your best performing posts and find like common themes. Like for example, like are your videos all story based? Like do they all have a strong opinion, controversial take? Do they have specific style of editing? You need to just take a look at those things, and pay attention that reaction is actually very important, like to your content. Next is you want to, if you're not sure what click-through rate is, like CTR impressions are, like what that means is just are people clicking on your video? It's that simple. Like one of the huge things, especially for YouTube and like Instagram, is the click-through rate. It's like how many people see your video, how many people see your video and then decide they want to click on it. Like if your CTR is like really low, what it means is that your title and thumbnails are not compelling enough. On your YouTube, your thumbnail titles can make or break a video, honestly. Like majority of all the big YouTubers spend a lot on just thumbnails alone. On Instagram and TikTok, like the first few frames needs to grab attention. Like for example, let's use an example. Like if your video gets like 100,000 impressions, but like you only get like 1,000 clicks, your CTR is like 1%, which isn't great. But if 10,000 people click, that's like 10% CTR. And that platform will push it even further. So if a video underperforms, try changing the thumbnail, try changing the title. It's fine. On those platforms, you can change the title as many times as possible, just to keep on testing. And now there's a lot of AI content that allows you to actually change your thumbnail, test out any thumbnails, what works and doesn't work. Then also you have to also think about tweaking and experimenting, like improving your content. You Most of these content creators that seem to go so viral at times is because they kept on changing or experimenting and figuring out what works best for them. So now you've analyzed your numbers, right? You've taken the next step to tweaking your approach. It's like figure out what works. And if it works, double down on that particular content. Like keep doing that over and over and over again. You know, like what was the hook you used? And like, what I mean? What editing style did you use? Like what emotions did you like trigger? If you can make that same style again, just keep doing it, you know? Or let's assume you find a weak spot. You find a weak spot, it's like, okay, all right, did my hook take too long? Like, was my pacing too slow? Was I not getting to the point right away? And was there a clear payoff at the end? Like, did the person who watched this video really leave with a clear payoff? Like, this is what you wanted them to leave with, and they did. Small tweaks like that can turn a very good, like a good video into like a really viral one as well. Like, and also like you also want to test like different formats. Sometimes it's not like the content, sometimes it's the format. Sometimes it's either it should be shorter or it should be longer. Like, what I mean? A different camera style, like, more, just a phone in your face versus doing a professional setup. Sometimes a professional setup is better. Sometimes a different, more real, authentic setup is much preferred for whatever that content is. Are you adding captions? Are you adding different languages to your captions too as well? Like, you added sound effects. Is it quick cut? Is it slow? What style are you going for? Like those kind of things, and sometimes like let's assume your viral does go off. Like, let's assume you do get this thing and your video does go viral. Like, it's not just getting the viral moment. It's about how you can get those viral moments and actually turn them into like a long-term growth strategy for your whole content business that you're working on. Like, what I mean? So if you don't have a plan and that viral moment comes, it was just going to come and go. But if you strategically capitalize on it, like you can turn it into like a real audience growth strategy. And I've seen a lot of content creators when I was doing research for this particular video, I saw a lot of content creators who had just that one viral video and they just couldn't get it again and again and again. And, it just went downhill from there. But I've also seen those who have been able to like leverage a viral video. When something goes viral, they don't just sit back. They actually lean into it and they just keep on going. So what they do is typically what I say is that when they have a video go viral, they literally just make follow-up videos immediately. So, if, for example, you posted about quitting your job and that just blew up, you make another video of going and diving deeper into that experience, And then when you're in there, I notice that they always engage with the comment section. Like they just keep the conversation going. Like you would see them reply to over 200 contents in the comment section. Like just going back and forth, and this kind of boosts the algorithm even more. So like the video was doing well is doing much better now. They tend to encourage people, to participate in whatever they're doing, like, what I mean? And what I've also noticed as well is that they also repurpose the viral content. For example, if it blew up in TikTok, they take it and post it on YouTube Shorts. They post it on Instagram Reels. So everywhere you go, you find that particular content because it did well in that content. It might do well on TikTok. It might do well on Instagram. So and that's kind of like what the goal is. It's turning like a viral moment into like a very long-term momentum for their particular business. So honestly, the biggest lesson what I've learned after studying all the content of people going viral Virality, first off, is not just everything, because I've seen people have it and lose it. I was part of people I was researching for this video. Some had it and they just lost it, but others were just, they're just consistent at it. Like, for example, Mr. Beast, like I mentioned, is one of those content creators who found out what works for him, but just replicated it consistently over and over and over again. So if your goal is to grow like a content creator, like, you just don't rely on one viral video. Like, instead, you want to focus on, like, making content people want to engage with. Like, improve your content with, like, every single post, make sure it gets better and better. Find out what works, and then you build your audience, a long-term audience, and stick with them. And I see some of the top content creators, that's what they've been able to do to achieve success in the content world. So I hope this video was helpful. Cheers.